Thank you very much for joining. So the showcase for today is this cohort that we've had this last 6 or 7 weeks. It's about how do we make the food industry better by leading with love. What kind of concept is that actually, huh? But it is trying to do the change making, but coming from a place of love, community building, etc., rather than fear and divisiveness. That's what we're going to share a little bit about in this showcase today. So the plan for today is quite simple. We'll try to break down the essence of what this project is, and we'll go out into breakout rooms, meet each other, and there'll be some questions along the way. And we'll also be hearing the stories from the different people that have been part of this program. We call them the doers. This is not only for staying online and chatting and talking theory. We're out there putting it into practice. And so that's why we call these people that participate in this program doers, because they go out and do the change. That'll be roughly the first 60 minutes. And after that, we'll invite you to hang around if you like. We have this informal space that we call the after party, where it might be curious to connect and hang around, ask some questions, and simply just talk. Just for you to let you know that you're welcome to stay. But first, we have this little ritual of taking a breath together, allowing us to settle in and being present here for really having the full benefit of what these meetings are. It's important to settle in and be present. This little exercise here is called box breathing, also Navy SEAL breathing. It's something that also surgeons do before they start a surgery. A good way to really making sure that you're present in whatever it is that you're doing. Simply like breathing in a box. You can, on one side, we go up, breathing in. On the top, we hold our breath. And on the other side, we go out. And again, at the bottom, we hold our breath. It's really this holding at the top and the bottom that do the difference. Simply just feel your seat, get comfortable in your space, loosen up your shoulders a little bit. And if you want, you can have your eyes closed or lower your gaze, whatever's comfortable for you. And then we're getting ready. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. One more at your own pace, please. While you are in that space, keep your eyes closed a little bit. Write yourself a permission slip for today. What's something that's needed in your space to allow you to be fully present here? Something you need to let go of, take on, allow yourself to be more active or more quiet in a meeting like this. Please allow yourself that permission slip for today. And when you're ready, just slowly come back to this space. Thanks so much for joining. Maybe just one little thing that's curious here. Wondering how many of you guys are actually active in this food industry? How many of you are farmers? How many maybe is in a community garden, working in any place in the food industry? Just having a feel for how many of you are. Jana, I know you, yeah? Casey, a little bit, yeah? You're producing? Good. Brooke as well? Yeah, definitely, absolutely. The thing is that, what is it that brings us here? That passion for this how do you say, the food industry, the food system, quality of life, health, nutrition, the soil. Most of us have had some kind of, inspiring video, or it's actually good to see how many is actually out there doing something, right? On whatever little scale that might be. I'd like to give a little applause for you guys. Thank you. Setting the prompt for this this breakup. Try to discover what ripple effects brought you here today. What was it that led that you showed up here today? See how much you can discover about that other person that you're going to meet in 4 minutes. Okay.
There's never enough time in those.
Impossible. Welcome back. Hope you had a good experience. Learn something. I'll pass it on to Adam, right?
So I know this sounds pretty broad and big, but how do we actually make the food industry better? And there's a lot of pictures on the screen here, but I mean, we have where our food's coming from, where how it gets to you, who makes it, who's enjoying it, and where does this go afterward? And how are we actually making this better? So if all these pictures at first glance are not overwhelming to try to process, the next slide I'll acknowledge is intentionally overwhelming. You know, how are we actually improving our food industry? It can feel super broad, super overwhelming. Our take on this is one person, one connection, one ripple effect at a time. When we really think at how our interactions ripple out, who they impact, where they go, what we're doing in this community is breaking down this desire for healing in the food industry into that one connection, one conversation at a time, so that we can learn how do we bring more vibrancy into that person's life, that restaurant's experience, that farmer's world. And our approach to doing this is called gratitude-based learning. But to imagine that you're the person that someone else wants to change, bring that to mind. Like if you're the person that someone else want to change, like how would you like people to interact with you? And so our approach to change making is this: we're leading with love rather than fear, gratitude rather than problems, curiosity rather than just telling, connecting rather than dividing, discovering rather than pushing, celebrating rather than avoiding, and supporting rather than isolating. As we're bringing this into healing the food industry, it most absolutely becomes just part of the way we are in our lives as well. So healing the food industry is just kind of the entry point in this initiative where we're getting to start putting that into practice. You know, if you're the farmer, the restaurateur, the manufacturer, which would you rather be on the receiving end of? Not to be super biased by the green and red here, but would you rather feel seen and heard and valued and appreciated, or someone coming to you and you feeling told and judged and criticized or not included? This sounds wonderful in theory, right? It feels good. It sounds like a lot of things can sound good in theory. The way we're putting this gratitude-based theory into practice is we call online programs for offline action. So we meet online, but we're then taking action using gratitude-based learning in the real world. And so we've broken this down into 3 programs at a high level. We have a training program, a discovery program, and an accelerator program. And the training program is practicing how to approach change-making conversations leading with love in the simplest form. The discovery program is learning, well, then where would you like to apply these skills in your life? And then the third is, let's say you found an area that you want to apply this. The accelerator program is bringing this essence into starting or running a project or a company or another community initiative. And this is, I will say, evolved fairly organically. And so this organic growth has been pretty remarkable. So in just a little over a year, our training programs touch 6 continents, and we just finished our 8th training cohort. Today, you're going to get to hear some of those stories from participants. The phrase that we like to use is this is a half-baked cookie. You know, it keeps evolving, right? We're connecting with so many different folks. We're not just talking about this. We're going out and we're connecting with so many folks, and you can see the pictures on the screen. It's a half-baked cookie because it's not, all right, this is this fixed program and we're just giving something to you. It's actually a recipe that the more we interact, the more people join this, the more feedback that's giving, the more people show up as their whole selves. This keeps evolving. It's been tremendously valuable for people to participate in this and take ownership of this, not as like you're signing up for something, and it's very much different in that sense. So there's a lot of different folks that in the food industry that we've gone out and connected with, neighbors who are doing community gardens and just gardening for their family, to chefs, farmers, restaurant owners, students reaching out to cafeteria managers, and just even one another. It's been pretty incredible. It's not just about the food industry, though. We're getting to apply this into so many aspects of our lives. We're going to go back into these breakout rooms and deepen that connection and get really curious, though, about, is there a person or industry that you've been eager to change, eager to see things done differently? And what we'll put out there is, are there areas that have been maybe harder to lead with love and gratitude?
Welcome back. So good to see you again. I can't wait. I just wanted to share, I was in my breakout room saying I want to change all my neighbors because they have so many dogs and they are talking to each other at night. I really would like to see that change, right? And then, when I was asking Charlie what would he like to change, and it just blew my mind. He said, what about that person here inside? That's the one I would like to change. So I just want to applause for Charlie. I mean, wow. Isn't that a good place to start? Maybe we could hear from just a few others. Who would you like to change?
We want to change everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But you know, I think that's something we have in common, right? All of us here. We like to see a better world, right? I think we're advocates for change or change makers, what we would like to call it, right? And I think it's fair as well to say that we can do better, isn't it? On whatever little level, we can all do better. This whole program is about how do we do that? And so I would like to hear some stories from the people that have tried to apply this in their lives and gone through this program. And Shanna, would it be okay if I asked you to go first and share something from that experience of joining the cohort, setting out to have a curiosity conversation with somebody in this food system, or learning gratitude-based learning? That whole experience could give so many different stories to tell. But I've asked you to try to just narrow it down to one. What would you like to share with this community from your experience?
oh my gosh, just one. Well, I think what is the most potent is the sense of connection, with connecting to other like-minded people who are also on their path with their passions. And in this journey, sometimes you can feel a bit you can get forlorn and weary and burnt out. And so it was an absolute gift. I was in that place a little bit, and so it was like an oasis in the desert to connect with other people. There's just something so powerful about that. So that would be it. If you're gonna leave me with one thing, that's it.
You can drop a little bit more time if you like to elaborate on what does it mean to you. I mean, what can you use that space for?
Well, that support that you get, the support that I've been able to get, is just to continue with the passion project that I've had in my life. Like I said, I was feeling a bit burnt out, but it just helps me to reflect, to look at, and really seek out other connections within my life in a more gentle, kind way and supportive way, reflective of what I'm getting from the group. So it's that ripple effect of what how I'm being nourished is then now how I go on to nourish those around me. And that has been really powerful. I've definitely noticed that for sure.
So if we were to elaborate a little bit on those dynamics in those groups, what is it that we are doing in those meetings? I mean, I would hate to say that it's just, me and Adam facilitating and telling you all, right? We are meeting in these little groups of 4 to 5 people or something like that, online, right? But then we go out and take this offline action, connecting with people. What are the dynamics? What do we do in those spaces?
The most valuable thing I was able to really experience was the questions that were asked of me. I need to share what I'm thinking about, what I'm hoping to do, and then just a simple question like, well, who would be a good person you could start that conversation with? And just that little question of it's that support that you get in a group of like-minded people where you might feel kind of stuck, and then someone just asks you the right question out of their own curiosity. I think that's what the powerful support is, and it's like we're really connected and getting interested in each other. And so having that what we're trained to do is being curious and caring for each other, for ourselves, and for people in our community. But man, when someone asks you a question and then you think about it, it's really powerful.
Thank you so much for sharing, Shanna. But this is the thing that I'm getting at is I could be there as a facilitator as much as I want, but the people that are in that space is half of what's going on, right? Because we connect with one another, we help each other, we reach out to one another and practice having these curiosity conversations. And so that support that you are talking about, yeah, interesting aspect. I'd like to hear one more. Carissa, you are in this space today. I'm so happy to see you. And you had a rather particular journey with this cohort.
I did.
Could you just share a little bit about what that was like?
Gosh. So I joined having no idea really what I was getting into. Someone I was working with asked me to take a meeting with someone else to help them write a grant and then follow up on that. And they said, hey, do you want to help these students who want to learn how to do these grants? And I was like, sure. I love the idea of high schoolers like really being prepared to go and believe in their ability to make change and to create the world that they want to live in. And so that's how I met Henrik. And it really, as I look back, there's been so many things that I'm like, this is the world that I want to live in, where the positive things that we each need just sort of show up. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. That conversation was so fun. And so I get into the training and I still really don't know what I'm doing. I don't, but I'm like, gratitude, great, learning, great. I'm here for it. And my life like blew up. And it's still continuing, where like just the number of big trials of things that have happened have just been ongoing. And so for about 2 weeks, I did not deal well at all. I didn't communicate. I didn't show up. I did not deal well. And in that and going, okay, but I really committed to this. I believe in this world. I want to make these changes. I want to be this person. I ended up going through the processes that we were learning in this training, this gratitude-based learning and curiosity conversations with myself, and going, okay, person who joined this, I'm really grateful that you did. Like, you trusted, you moved. Like, I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much for showing up. Okay, person who's struggling, what's going on with you? Okay, and I listened and I asked some more questions and I went, okay, I'm really feeling a lot of tension over showing up again and communicating anything around my absence. Old me would absolutely have just disappeared. Like, you never would have seen me again, never would have heard from me. I was like, nope, I'm too embarrassed that I didn't live up to my own standard. I'm out. Like, I'm gone. But I thought, but that's not who I want to be. That's not what we're trying to build here. So okay, then the action to take would be to say, look, guys, I'm taking responsibility for this. I know I did not show up well. That wasn't great of me, but I'm here and I'm jumping back in and I'm doing the work. It's been really fulfilling for me to hear, even just in this phone call where someone was like, I want to change myself. Yep, every day. I'm working on improving myself and finding more joy and bringing more love to this world. And someone else going, and I'm discovering that we all have the same problems. 100% agree. Like, there's so many ways that we divide each other, and yet the details may be different, but we all really face a lot of the same things. And so I'm really grateful for the framework that this training has given me to use tools that I already had, but in a slightly more effective way with myself and in the conversations that I'm having with people, whether it's my day-to-day job or it's around food or it's about, what's possible. And a lot is possible when you can come with love and humility and be open to listen and just find out where someone else is and what maybe you could do together.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Yeah. Wow. Carissa, thank you so much for sharing that one.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's one of the things that we are teaching in this program here is how to sit with the friction, right? And what I'm amazed by you is that you must have done that by self-study. Because you weren't really in the first part of the program, right? And this is actually amazing that you came back, you showed up again, right? And now you're here telling that story about what you could call the first part failure or friction or whatever. But in this program, we learn to choose what we would like to focus on. And I would like to focus on that you came back, that you showed up again, and you're here sharing your story. So let's applause for Carissa, because she overcame herself in the most incredible way. I was absolutely sure we had lost you.
Different program, different me, absolutely. But yeah. I was committed.
So happy that you listened in to what was it that spoke to you to show up in the first place. So
Yeah,
connecting with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. One little more story before we go into breakout rooms. I'd like to ask just Brooke, you've been part of this for a longer time. What we're trying to here is add value to you guys' lives, right? Not just through this program, but what happens after the program, how to stay engaged, and we've had this pilot with sending these little reminders in the morning. Would you share what
I'd
a
be
little bit
happy
about
to. These are little prompts to ignite in you something to focus on briefly. So it's a suggestion. Like the very first one was do some box breathing. Oh, I was like, oh, piece of cake, I can do that. And it definitely helped. And then there were things like think of the ripple effect that you are having by doing one small thing today or whatever. Then we got together, the group, and we started to realize that, in fact, this is really a continuation of when you finish your cohort, there's a bit of a withdrawal that happens because, you get to know these people. They're your buddies, your friends, your community. And it's just such a wonderful place that you leave and you can go away and keep doing your stuff or forget it because life happens. What these daily doses do is it brings you back into the community. It gives you an opportunity to connect again, to be reminded of little things like what that word friction, the friction in your life today. Think about it, look at it, sit with it, don't, that's all. Or so anyway, what we decided is that this was just such a valuable tool to have. My suggestion to the community is definitely sign up. You won't be sorry, and you'll be so grateful to come in. So Henrik continues in your life, which I think we all agree is a good thing.
So yeah, just wanted to share that we want to add value here, and so we'll find ways to do that. But now I would like to send you out into breakout rooms again, and imagine this time that you are that person that you wanted to change. Okay? You identified a person or somebody you would like to change. Now imagine you are that person. How would you like to be approached?
Too short.
Too short. Yes, I know. But I'm curious as if one or two of you would like to share, what did you come up with? How would you like to be approached? Anyone who dares to share,
Well, I'll just share how valuable this program was because simultaneously, I was going through a bit of a challenge with my daughter, being the mother of a 21-year-old. I definitely had my ideas of her health and nutrition, and came to her with some anxiety, and which had her just push me away, which made me even more anxious. So we had some issues. And so when I literally found myself in a place of anxiety and stress and approaching her, I applied this mode of like, it's not about me and my anxiety. What about her? Where is she at? Where's she coming from? And there was moments where I just put down my fear and just listened to her and inquired about where she was at. And it has shifted everything with my daughter. I mean, I sometimes forget, and then I have to go back, and then I do it again. But man, everything is different with my relationship with her. I mean, it's really powerful. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for sharing, Shanna. Beautiful example, right? But I think that before we enter into this space and find some tools and some ways of going about it, it seems rather complicated, right? How do we go about it? I hope you know that what you're doing to figuring out a way to make that connection with somebody, it's highly complicated, right? But we'll be there. We'll be with you all along the way, and make sure you come out much better on the other side. I would like to share another story, but this time tapping into that aspect of what's the long-term impact of being engaged with, or thinking about gratitude-based learning longer than just one little short cohort. So I'll be sharing a video.
Hi, gratitude-based learning community. I'm gonna respond to the prompt of how has gratitude-based learning, how has being a part of this community made a long-term effect? I would say, first and foremost, I continue to see how it's applicable everywhere. In the most recent times, applied it to my personal, romantic relationship, and it really helped me navigate those conversations, allowed a lot more mindfulness, intention, and celebration of all this friction that I think, would have been really hard to manage without that. I also saw it in my lifeguard training and times I experienced friction in how the city of Austin was treating the education modules. Instead of being just frustrated and writing it off, I just started asking questions about why these things were effective, and I actually learned that I was wrong in a lot of cases, but they're not wrong or right. I had a lot more to learn. There's another thing that's just really wonderful about being in this program, and that is a feeling of contribution and belonging. It builds a community just by being a part of this half-baked cookie. We have to figure out what ingredients we're going to put in it, and we all get to choose that together. There's definitely an invitation for everyone who joins to be one of the chefs baking the half-baked cookie. And this community is all about being grateful and approaching these points of friction with a sense of curiosity, joy, excitement, compassion, and through the process of creating this, we are refining what gratitude-based learning is. A shared sense of purpose for when I share with people that I am a part of something with this intention, with the intention of healing these polarizing topics and conversations through a new way of looking at them, so we don't have to be stuck in the tension of polarized sides. I feel a sense of purpose in myself when I get to talk with people about, hey, I'm a part of this gratitude-based learning curriculum and a community. It's a really valuable thing to be connected to. So long term, I get a sense of purpose for being a part of the half-baked cookie baking, because everyone loves the taste of this half-baked cookie. It's really good.
So good. Is Wyatt. He is an excellent guy, and if you enter into this space, you are going to meet him for sure. Charlie, could I ask you to present your story in the after party? We'll save the best for last here. For those who like to hang around in the after party space, we'll be asking Charlie to share.
So some people might be asking, what is this program? What specifically is this? Where do we go from here, basically? We have an info session that gets into the nitty-gritty of the actual program, and I'll give a very high level of it here, but that next cohort starts that week of July 31st, and it goes for 6 weeks through August 10th. Basically the same exact time next Thursday, July 20th, we're having an info session on the program where you're going to get to essentially try it out and see, is this something that you want to vibe into? We all get one life, and our time is the most valuable thing. We get to choose what we spend our time to. So coming to the info session is a prerequisite to join, and it'll give a mutual feeling of, is this a thing for you that you want to invest your time in? And that link is just Honora Global /trainings. Just quick, a little bit about the program. What you get is it's a 6-week program, and think of it as 3 elements. There's group support, one-on-one coaching support, and call it self-work, the self-repatterning exercises in the curriculum. And so you get about 10 hours of group support, one-on-one coaching, and that self-repatterning. We valued it all together at $2,500, but the cost to join is $250 plus the gift economy. So the gift economy being whether it's sharing your story, sharing feedback, and contributing to the half-baked cookie, telling others about it, and then at the end of the program, you can pay forward however much you wish to financially help us keep offering this to more people. Because this program, even though we have this container of healing the food industry, we actually have a program like this for high school students as well. We also offer this for companies and schools. So at that link that I put in there, you can learn about those different programs. But especially for the high school students, this allows us to offer that program to free for kids. There's a video that we tend to close call it the official session with before we enter the after party. Really sums up what is it that we're doing. See where you can find yourself in this video about starting a movement.
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED, we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course, you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts, 3 is a crowd, and the crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED.
Thank you so much for joining. This is what it's about, you know, creating momentum. Huge shout out to all of you who participated here. This is getting close to the end of the official part, and we'll be transcending into the after party.
I just want to say that this is the most amazing community, and I think everybody who participates in these cohorts, it's transcendent. You just come away with so many subtle improvements to your communication, your listening, your relationships, who you are in this world. And whether that is a leader or a follower or just a wonderful human, it doesn't matter. Everybody is embraced. And so I just wanted to share that, because I've been a part of this community now for over a year, and I don't even remember how many cohorts I've done, but I just enjoy and love and go through withdrawals after every single one of them. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Brooke. And for those of you who need to drop, thank you so much for joining in. But other than that, we'll be transitioning into the after party, and maybe I could ask the biggest veteran here in this space, Charlie. You're the one who's been repeating the most number of cohorts. What has it been like to be part of this community over time? You know, what's something you would like to share about having this space here?
Well, that's one of the privileges of being an older guy, I've been around the block a few times. So if I didn't get the message the first time, hopefully the second, third, or whatever, because I'm learning a new language. So when I came into the cohort, I didn't know anything. I was struggling. I was lonely. I was really frustrated. I was discouraged. I was downtrodden, all the rest of that stuff. Being a part of this group gave me, it was like an energy that was pulling me forward. I like the analogy of I'm a rose, and it's dark and the rose is closed down, isolated. But as the sun came up, i.e. you people, and I followed along, and eventually I started to open up and my true self started to be revealed. And when that happened, then the people would say beautiful things to me. Oh, Charlie, oh, Charlie. And I was like, and at first I get embarrassed or I have a hard time accepting that kind of stuff. But the other one is, I don't know if anybody noticed, I didn't say anything for the last hour. That's different. One of the things I learned is listening is an act of love. But what was going on as I was being triggered and I couldn't stay present, I'd go into my head and I'd just start doing this. That's the way that I learned how not to deal with my anxiety, was to, I'll just say I spent some time with Henrik in the last couple of weeks. And so I became aware of something called internal family. One of the things we talked about today was reharmonizing my internal family and freeing my inner choir. So all those parts of Charlie that were scattered, and it was hard for me to feel that things were going to get better for me. The last one was we talked about being grateful for the process of accepting all of my parts instead of pathologizing those parts. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. Oh, I gotta hide that part of myself. No. So what this group has, if I try to put it in my new language, is my true self shows up. There's 9 things. I was trying to think of them all. I had to cheat and look. So being creative is our true selves. Connecting with each other, that's our true selves. Realizing we have choices. Oh, that wasn't a good choice. Well, I'm going to make a better one. Be encouraged. Having courage to admit that I'm scared, I'm lonely, all that stuff. Or I'm happy, I'm grateful. How about compassion? But especially compassion towards ourselves. Curiosity. That's in the list. It's called the 9 C's of the true self. We're curious. Think about when we're little kids. We're so curious. What happened to that curiosity? Well, it's back. How about clarity? When we're in our true selves, when we honor those parts, we see things that we didn't see before. God's purpose is for us to have joy. There were so many things that he was doing for me, but I wasn't aware of them. I was blind, deaf, and numb. Confident. When I knew this was going to come up, and I'm going, oh my God, there's those parts. I get anxious. I'm just going to sound like an idiot. No, confident. My true self is beautiful, just like yours. Calm. I'm working on that one. When I heard so many beautiful things from the people that shared today, it just reinforced how much I have benefit from being a part of your family. Yeah, the lone nut. So I came up with another phrase the other day. It's called wonky. I'd like to think we're all a little wonky. That's the beauty of this program, is instead of being ashamed or embarrassed, all that other stuff, is now we can show up. And I love being wonky.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Charlie. Beautiful. And one thing that I'm really tapping into is that it's a process, right? We want to change the food industry. It's a process. It's not something that's a flick of a hand, right? We want to change somebody. We want to change ourselves. It is a process. And so having a bit of, let's say, kindness or humility or patience, there's so many things.
It's probably obvious to everybody, but maybe I'll say this to reinforce it in me. Instead of working out, I'm working in. The more that I work in, then that energy goes out. And it's benefiting so many other people. I keep experiencing these things because I'm working in, and I'm able to go out into my community and connect. I'm just realizing that I'm connected in so many ways that I was not aware of.
This is the after party, and so the floor is open for anybody who would like to dance, anybody who would like to share anything or comment. We can go in any direction that you like, any questions whatsoever. And one thing that, if I should set the stage, maybe is, how do you make the connection with that change that we all want to see in the food industry or whatever it was that you wanted to see, that we wanted to change? How do you tie the connection to what it is that we're doing in this program? Where do we start?
I went to the farmers market last Saturday to play some music, to raise some money and awareness for the refugee program, Peace Through Music International. And I was really scared the day I went to do that. I forgot my hat, so I got a good burn on my head. I forgot my guitar pick, and I had sore throat. I couldn't sing. Here I am standing, I try to sing and I can't. It turned out to be a really amazing experience for me. So this lady, she showed up, and I have a poster with the kids, and she says, she looked at my guitar case, where's all this money actually going? And I said, this money is going to a lady, her name is Liz Shropshire. She started this program 24 years ago. She says, I know Liz. And I'm going, what? So, yeah, I invited her to come to the University of Prince Edward Island and do a presentation 10 years ago. She said, I'd like for you to come and do a presentation. Would you come? I felt like saying, be careful what you ask for. So on the 24th, supposedly I'm going to go to the university and do a presentation. Luckily, the nonprofit is going to send me a PowerPoint, so that'll help. So if I hadn't showed up, and I learned so many things, this fellow, he came along and he had his son and he was fascinated. He was just watching me with the guitar, right? And I told him I didn't have a pick, and his father gave him a pick and he ran up and gave it to me. So I could go on all day about my parts, the fear, all that, all those parts started to be activated. I was thinking, oh my God, like, it's really hot out. What am I doing here? I said, just get in the car and go.
And I can absolutely testify to, since Charlie started being in this program, how many people he has been meeting in those farmers markets, on the streets, when you go walking, when you just go into a shop, he connects with so many people and causes so many ripple effects because he started with himself.
I just
Peace.
want to introduce myself. I'm Catherine, y'all. And Charlie, talking about fear, I have for the past, decades, several decades, just been really afraid of the future and climate change. And I think a lot of people are underestimating it. And so I grew up on a farm, and I always was in tune with nature, and I love nature. And that was a blessing to be able to have access to that. And so I always wanted to be an environmental lawyer. So fast forward, I just graduated law school. I'm taking the bar exam in Virginia. I saw the movie Kiss the Ground a few years ago. So while I was still in law school, which just made me have hope instead of fear, which was so important to me to give me something to kind of keep going, So now I want to pursue regenerative farming in whatever capacity I can. While I was in law school, I wrote several papers about regenerative farming that relate to like bee pollinators and the law and how we can try to get funding and how the government should be doing things in the Farm Bill and stuff like that. So I'm really interested in the movement and health equity, which was something that Shauna was talking about. Which I think is so cool. She helps this community garden for people with disabilities and for people who can't afford quality organic food. And actually, talking about the farmers market, I was there at the farmers market. Like, I go every weekend. So I met this lady who told me that they accept, I guess, SNAP benefits there. And I'm like, they should be advertising that. That's great. So there's a few good organic produce people in. I live in Virginia, which is where I guess Zach Bush has his farm, and that's where I got introduced to this group. I mean, I just saw that this was happening because of Farmers Footprints. I was like, this sounds great. This sounds interesting. I'm trying to lead with love and curiosity and encourage all those things, trying to make the world a better place and try to make myself a better person as well. And I think that it's so great that you guys have this really cool community of like-minded people that are supporting each other, because that's also what the regenerative movement is about. connection, just like we need diversity in the soil with different plants. And that's. So yeah, I'm really appreciative to talk to everyone and to meet everyone.
We're so happy to have you here, absolutely. And
Thank you.
it's Adam can tell you long stories about how many people he have met or students that have been in a similar situation with that and anxiety, and how we turn that around into something more proactive. How can we use that to move forward?
I think a beautiful world is possible. It's so attainable if we can make it happen. So it's about collective organization, which is what you guys are doing, I guess. So it's awesome.
Thank you. So I see Denise, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to share how I got a whole new understanding of what show up means in this group, and then how the connections come about out of showing up. So out of this group, what I got show up means, what I used to think show up meant bring this body to this event, be quiet, but I'm there. This body is there. And now I have show up means bring this soul to wherever, speak from this soul, stuff you can't see. Let that show up and be authentic and be authentic. And I wanted to share how that's brought about connection. So one of the videos that was recorded here of me talking about dry farming, I shared with another community that I'm part of that's doing a regenerative farm kind of thing, a whole community. And I was like, share myself, show up. So I shared it with them. And then just last night, I'm in a whole nother community, and somebody that I didn't even know was in this second community that I'm mentioning saw the video, and she's like, oh my God, I saw you. And she's like, oh my God, you do this. And so I was like, wow, we are connected. That's 3 different communities connected through showing up.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. That really puts some perspective into it. We are causing so many ripple effects. And this is what we'd like you to realize in this program, that we have this idea, we're just little me, right? I mean, what could I do really that causes an impact? No, a lot actually, really a lot. It's about supporting each other in whatever little action that could be that could take us there. I see Gina, you have your hand up.
Yes, I mean, this is my first event since I joined Farmers Footprint. I just randomly pick it. So I'm not very familiarized with, I have been reading, and then I went to your guys' website, and I actually joined late. I apologize for that. I was confused with time zones. I come from the advertising branding world, and then I became a coach because I got sick. So through health is how I got connected to food and understanding everything. So I coach a lot of leaders, and all of them now know about the connection with soil and God, etc. So one by one, I just talk to them about it, and I think that's so far my impact. I'm in Panama now. I'm from Panama actually, but I lived in New York most of my life, and now I'm in Texas. So I'm trying to influence here in Panama as much as I can. We're a small country, and there's a lot of people. So I'm meeting, literally doing coffees with everyone. That's how I'm trying to impact. So it's very interesting, your program. I love to hear, since I'm a coach, I love how you are using all these ways of relating and using gratitude and all that. It just, resonates a lot. So great first encounter with the community. So if anybody wants to ever catch up or tell me about the community or how to go about it, I'm totally lost. I'm new.
Just put your email in the chat. We'll get in touch, that's for sure. But I wondered if I could ask you maybe to share a little bit about what's the situation in Panama. Do people care about the environment, or?
I don't think I can, because I'm in the middle of asking questions, and I have been in 3 or 4 trips to Darien, which is the site that is limiting with Colombia, which is the dense jungle. I don't know if you're familiarized, but Panama is the skinny part of the Americas, and then is the only part that you cannot go through it with a car, right? There's a huge dense jungle there. There's a huge crisis with immigrants coming from the south to the US through it. But Darien, which is probably the lungs of Panama, if you will, the regulations, like I just found out some things that were, I mean, I almost cried. There were these activists, which I'm so happy about. They're actually doing private reserves. So they're buying land, and actually is a private reserve. They're buying it so people don't cut the trees, because we have this amazing diversity in some parts of Panama. Is the only place where Pacific and Atlantic meet, and there's all these birds that only appear here and what have you. So there's this group that is just buying land and making it private reserve. And what they're going up against is wood, like people just cutting the trees, like 300, 400-year trees for wood. And when you would think that one of these trees is like, when I ask how much do you think is a tree, and when they say they're gonna take 200 trees, how much do you think it's each tree? And everybody's like, what, 2,000 or 500 or like some number like that. And they're like, no, it's like less than $20 for $300 tree. So all these things that I'm trying to understand of what are the interests here? Why is it that they will go into a jungle and cut trees, or how is the food system going? All that I'm interested in learning. So at this point, I have been lucky enough to be with all these people that actually are doing good thus far. So I'm meeting with as much people as I can to just do very simple interviews, very simple, just to gather information to see where I can impact. I live in the US, so it's almost like I can come back and forth. It's like every Latin American country. I mean, right now, Mexico, I heard ban glyphosate in 2025. That's like a big movement in the region. In Panama, we're not there in terms of glyphosate, but I'm still investigating. I can report back once I know. What I'm looking for is information or decks or anything for education, so I can just help communities here and start educating. So when people come and tell them how to do agriculture, they just at least have a previous point of view of why glyphosate is not a good idea. I want to just get there. Basic. Do you have any decks, presentations, anything that I can use so I can translate and start talking to farmers as little as the ones that are informal now, right?
I have a question for you. Thank you so much. But first, I need to ask Catherine. You still have your hand up. Would you like to?
I didn't mean to have my hand up actually, but now that you say that, Gina, I have a lot of information I've compiled. I've got papers, but I also have one pagers. But like I took a science class in law school with a professor who helped me cultivate the research that I did. So it explains like the soil science pretty simply, so it's like understandable. If you want, I would love to send that to you.
Oh my God, yeah, I'll put my email here, and please, if you guys have any, because I already have the biologists that are they just need some help. They're in the field. I just want to help them. And we have amazing people here that I have a biologist that did a whole book with a community in Darien that is like amazing. I mean, we have amazing people. We just need to give them tools. So because I come from communication and background like that, at some point I can help that way, right? Thank you so much.
I just have a question for you, Gina, too. You said that they're cutting down these trees for like $20, but they're worth more, obviously. But it seems like then, are they doing that because there's the socioeconomic status of people? That people are just in poverty, so they're doing that to like make money?
This happens everywhere. They just come to countries with big trees to cut them so they can make. I mean, it's a bit like wood is a legitimate. It's not illegal. In some parts, it's illegal. They're going to reserves and stuff. These parts are, it's a combination of legislation. Like we have to get involved in everything. I just love that these people like, okay, right now we cannot change the law. You know, Latin American governments sometimes are not as organized, let me put it that way. At this point, the best thing to do is to just buy it and protect it. And I think that's beautiful because these people are, they buy it with the best intentions, and they've created a way of buying it and getting donations to buy more and protecting it, which I think is beautiful. I mean, I just learned about this project on Sunday, but the more I learn, I am very hopeful, which is, you know, like, yes, there's some disastrous things happening everywhere in the world, not just in Panama, I mean, in Panama, there's also good things happening. Like there's these amazing groups that are trying to do their best. So wherever
that's one of the things that we try to is what we would like to focus on and give our energy to those good things and making more of that happen. But I was having a curious question here, Gina. If it's not that long ago that you found out about soil and sackbush and what have we got, could you go back a little longer back before we became aware of something, right? If we were to approach Adam before he watched that video with Greta Thunberg, right? How would we have approached him? Because being open to information, if somebody just comes to you and throw information at you, what would happen? Would you have taken it? or
Well, for me, it was very personal. I don't know the rest, but for me, it was health, right? For me, it was very personal. It was, I got sick and I didn't understand why. I'm a daughter of a chef, an Italian chef. My dad is Italian. We cook, like, food is amazing forever. We have always do all home cooked meals, and we have restaurants here and so on. And I moved to the US. And when I moved to the US, something happened to my gut and I couldn't understand what happened.
I do understand, when we have that personal experience, now we open up to information, right? But does it really have to get to that point? Well, curious, Anna, what's in your space, please, here?
Well, it was interesting in the breakout room. I was talking to Linda about this a little bit because I've been actually asked to speak at a networking event here in Dallas, like really just 2 to 5 minutes to kind of, and the way this came about was a neighbor of mine. I brought her eggs. I went out to the farm and, brought her eggs yesterday and was like, is there anything else that you want from this specific farm? And so I've just been kind of connecting my neighborhood and people around me to these resources because they're finding that they're sick. Now, my journey, just to Gina's point, I'm from Canada originally, and I'm not saying that this is some utopic, but when I moved here 9 years ago, I was like, why doesn't food go bad? And I'm like, if this organic milk doesn't go bad for 3 months, like there's got to be something they're not telling me. You know what I mean? Kind of, there was just an interesting, and like even produce, it would not go bad. I got to the point where I kind of stopped eating really for a while. And I felt unwell, and then lead to about 2 years ago where I go for a normal, tests, and I've got like this cholesterol that's just out of control, and it's the only thing. And the doctor's telling me you need to stop eating fast food. I'm like, I don't go to restaurants. I don't eat fast food, And so it kind of leads in, well, there's a major stressor in my system, and it's something that I can't fully put together. And I do garden. I'm, been an organic, but at the same time, even leads you a little bit further. Okay, what else is going on with the soil, with the water, with the, and everything's connected, and all paths end up leading me here right now to this amazing moment, and how I'm feeling a little bit of the challenge of how do I communicate that. So I'm just so grateful, first off, to finding this resource. Additionally, when I was kind of telling Linda what the things that I said that led into being asked to speak were kind of that moment of how do you meet people where they are, and how do you communicate? Like, I used to say, well, I'm an environmentalist, and I would, like, the room shuts down. I remember hearing a little while ago, eco-communicator, and trying to just it be less political, and just like a topic where people shut down before we've even began to speak, and we can all connect around food and health. And then, like, listening to people and their stories, I'm still trying to find my way and bubble through it. I've, got a lot of anxiety, but excitement, because somebody did find the things that I've had to say in our communications worthy of hearing and very important and needed at this time. A little bit of like finding my way, but there's something really interesting in like how we all end up with these health things, and our food's not as nutritious anymore. And like, we can all get passionate about that. We can all connect on that. So I guess finding more of the sameness as opposed to the difference.
Right.
To maybe start there.
Absolutely. And so why do we have a food system program here? We all eat, I hope.
Yeah.
We have something in common, at least.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Oh, one more thing I just wanted to add was I what I'd said to, the person who invited me, I just said, well, I just feel, because I'd said something about climate crisis and she did not like that term. I mean, body language, I mean, everything was like, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, I just feel like we all want the same things. We're in a mass extinction. Like, those are facts. They're undeniable facts. But at the same time, like, doesn't somebody who doesn't really like me using that term want to be able to hunt with their grandchildren? That's the reality. So if the way in which we can meet people is to maybe go with the values of being able to go out on land and be able to hunt, right? Like, as opposed to, maybe another way I would have approached that conversation. And that is why I think led to her being like, oh, we're onto something here. So I just, I've got to meditate and figure things out and pull things together. But I'm just so appreciative of this time and space this evening to be able to, and hear from everybody.
So that point, I really like in these spaces that we give people time to talk, right?
Yeah.
And so this after party might go on. And for those of you who would like to drop, please just drop. But for those who would like to stay. To that point, we will find so many people that have a different opinion than you and I, right? And that's the point, to practice allowing that space, whether they think the earth is flat or whatever it is, right? So getting curious about why do you think the earth is flat? Or why are you not interested? Or okay, but we'll be practicing that in the program. So you'll get the challenge if you join. Adam?
When you asked that question, Paul, what would get me to change or open my eyes to something that I then later, I mean, like over the course of a 11-minute video, awakened something in me and woke me to my core. I was like terrified, put me into this fight or flight anxious state. What would have gotten me to care beforehand? And I'm realizing that, was it 6 months, maybe almost 6 months beforehand, I was working on environmental stuff, not caring about environmental stuff. It was a friend that almost like invited me to an innovation think tank group. And so it was meeting me where I was at. He cared deeply about that stuff, but I care. Intellectual stimulation is what got me going. Solving problems is what got me going. He knew me well enough to know what would scratch my itch. Yeah, it's remarkable. I talked with someone earlier today who she's been working at a company for 30 years. And I learned today that what that company actually does, it's in the environmental space. She's like, we could be selling widgets tomorrow and I could care like what we're actually doing. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't really care about the environmental stuff. She's like, but to me, the way we treat people here and the impact we see, like that feedback loop of impact feels really good. And so, yeah, just meeting folks where they're at.
If I may just say one thing, it just kind of spoke to me, was like, it's kind of about people's love language a little bit. Even, you know what I mean? To go a little bit deeper, and that's how, so just kind of, and I'm like, I just had to say that.
Yeah.
I don't want to put her on the spot with this, but Linda brought this into one of our working groups where love languages, but also, I don't know what colors, how like everyone has a different color, and how the ability to recognize that we're not all the same light, same color, powerful.
So many aspects in this.
I like learning a new language, and as I hear people speak, the phrase of collective healing. So to me, this is a collective healing space, a soft place to land where I can reveal my wounds. Now, when Gina showed up, my dream is to go to Panama. It's been probably 5 or more years. Anyway, just listening to her talk and thinking, wow, for me to show up in Panama, I don't know anything. Just wander around. But to be able to connect to somebody. So I'm just grateful I'm on here today. One thing I'm kind of curious about, I haven't heard from Michael yet.
Is it okay to call you out, Michael?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm still trying to figure out what this is all about, and it's just taking time. Yeah, I got part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that first breakout, I absolutely had no idea what was going on. As I sat here, I was just sitting here getting little bits and pieces, trying to figure out, what are they telling me? What are they saying? Or what it was about. If it's a course, okay, here's your course. Here's how it's laid out. This is what we're going to do. you mentioned a breakout, why would I break out? Because I have nothing to do. I mean, I'll fit in here. I just got to figure out where I'm at, what's going on. One thing that I've learned a long time ago, I accept people the way they are and the way they're not. And I've tried over time to communicate. Sometimes it worked, and then some people just don't want to communicate. And I used to take blame for a lot of that. It's my fault that I didn't do this, or it's my fault. There's some areas Hendrik has helped me with, but the bottom line is nothing's a big deal. You just start to try to help an individual, or some people are never, no matter what you do, they're not gonna change. And it's not your job to do that. It's your job just to lay it out. This interests me, but today was something that I just sat here. Each one spoke. I got a little something. Then I thought I understood it, and then something went on, and then I was lost again, and then I came back in. So yeah, I'm going to show up on the 21st.
Looking forward to it. Absolutely. The point that I'm trying to make here is that you will definitely not be the only one entering this program still wondering what it is.
Okay.
There's so many people who share that. Just Carissa was sharing in her story, right? She was entering and had really no idea what this was all about. But I think for the big majority, go through the program and have had a good experience. Maybe Denise, do you want to speak to that?
Kind of like what I said early about my new understanding of what showing up is. There's something that told me show up here, and without any understanding of what it was. Even after I did the same info session and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I still have no idea. However, I need to show up. I know that. That's all I know. And I kept showing up, and I got everything I needed. And I keep showing up. It's my schedule has changed, and I haven't been able to show up like I used to. But when I have an opportunity to come and see you guys, I'm like, hi. So, and it seems to be common. Almost everybody comes in and says, what is this? I have no idea.
And I think it's also, last year at least we didn't really know fully what we were doing. Just like you said, we had a hunch, right? We knew there was something, and we could see it in people's reaction. There was something good here. And then we've been on such a big roller coaster of evolution since we started, that so many things has added, so many details we have uncovered along the way. In that daily dose where we share a little bit every morning with that pilot group, I found 21 aspects that I wanted to share with him, just to remind a little bit about what it is that we're doing. It might be overwhelming if we go into all of what this is, right? Just go with the flow, and we'll take it in the direction that the people in the cohort would like to go, right? It's not that we have a very fixed, I'll just be reading to you what it is. No, we'll be interacting, and move along and find our way. And that's what Adam calls this a half-baked cookie, this program, right? It's okay. It's up to the participants to play along and be a chef here.
And which is so much more powerful. And we come in here because we're tired of the way it was done. So yeah, it doesn't look like what we're used to. There's not a curriculum that's saying for on this day we do this, and this day we do that, and this day we do that. We're all included in where we're going. And I just have to also say, I know that Anna wants to share. I'll be real quick. That being that I was in early and then had to kind of step away, it's really fun to see I'm still watching. So much has happened in a year that we couldn't have even said, wow, all of this happened. And it took a lot of and it is, and it is, and it is. And so much has happened in a year. And there's so many ripple effects.
I just wanted to say something that had come to me in that, you know, and like not really knowing, and but you show up, and I've heard, you know, some inspiration thought leaders compare what it is when they have children to that, right? Like you don't really, but like you just keep showing up, and you got, and then it goes from there, and it just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a beautiful thing in that like holistic, you know, but we're all a part of it. And I already feel a part of something, you know, so great. Like even finding this group, and I realized that some of the darker points that I've had, you know, over say the past like 10 years of my life were really when I wasn't participating. I didn't feel like I had a place to belong. I gave too much power to like, I guess like the labels of, I ended up in an immigration in the United States at a certain time in history where like literally it was, you know, and so a lot of that affected me so much. But the reality is that story could have even been very different by finding community, by showing up. And, you know, when you do, then you do find different ways to do that. And I know I'm far away from like a really fully happy, content place, but I'm on the journey now, and I'm on the right path, and I'm just connecting with people, and it's so beautiful. And I'm living with that gratitude now. That's not just, you know, something that you read about or like, how do I get there? It's like a lived in process that I'm just feeling and a part of. It's alive.
Mhm.
So anyways, just gratitude to you all. But it kind of just, it sparked that in me of like.
One thing that I would like to share is that, you know, in Farmers Footprint, one thing that I admire about them is that they haven't put down in stone what is regenerative agriculture, right? That's open to interpretation. That's open to evolving. That's open to interpretation and
Input.
yeah, and it's not exclusive then, or how to say excluding. Like, okay, you're not doing this now. You're not, right? I mean, if you're just a conventional farmer and you stop tilling the land, but you're still using pesticides, I would dare to call you a regenerative farmer, because you are on the way. You are now doing something better than yesterday or last year, right? May not be perfect, but I mean, who is perfect, right? Point is, could we cherish that effort? Okay, that's that progress, instead of saying, oh, no, you're not good enough because you're still using chemicals.
And that's like anybody's journey in recovery, right? Is like celebrating that the steps that you make and feeling good about those to be able to keep heading in that way. And it's like, it's so.
And I hope you will find the same thing in this program here, that we have some ideas, we have some structure, right? We have a methodology, we have some concepts and all of that. But please don't take it like written in stone that you have to do like this, you have to do like that. They are subtle, these concepts, right? They're very powerful, but at the same time, you need to, you know, meet people where they are at, right? It's not just do like this, okay, connect, feel, process. It may not happen in the first meeting that you connect. It might take longer, right? There's space for you to do it your way.
There's a phrase, come as you are, how could it be otherwise? And that each one of us has different gifts. None of us are alike. We're all unique. You know, I got to meet Michael. We were the first two to sign on. So it was really nice to meet him. I automatically liked the guy. I just barely met him. I said, oh, Michael, nice. And so Michael and Anna, you have gifts that we're all looking forward for you to share that with us. So the other one is I'm a musician songwriter. I bought a bass guitar 2 years ago and it had major problems. And it wasn't a cheap instrument. I spent a bunch of money and I was so discouraged. I was so angry at myself that I bought this piece of, and so I took it to a friend of mine over a month ago. He's a builder, a lutherer. He called me today, your bass is done. Charlie, this instrument is, you're going to like this instrument a lot. My goal is to be an instrument in God's hands. I look at myself, you know, I was broken. I wasn't, you know, the bass, I couldn't tune it because the bridge was in the wrong place. This beautiful wood top is actually a piece of plastic. It's a picture. It's not real wood. And there was problems with the frets, but this guy was able to take that bass and take it apart and rebuild it.
Mhm.
He said, Charlie, come and see me tomorrow. You're going to be happy. And I can't wait to reconnect with my bass. I played bass for over 50 years in bands, right? So it's the instrument that I'm most comfortable on. The bass players are considered the mothers of the band. We just want our children to be happy and to look good. I've been privileged to know Denise for a while. And so I think we could all agree that as we come back, we get to see others growing, becoming their true selves, and not figuring, what do I have to contribute here? Why am I even bothering showing up here? And when the light goes on, we need you. This collective healing space needs you.
Wanted to say that I was so happy to see that you two, Michael and Charlie, you met, because I wanted you two to meet. You know, because I know that you have something in common. Beyond being gentlemen with white hair, there's something else that you two have in common. And I was curious if you were going to find out. But that's actually the point here. You know, when we are out there trying to connect with somebody, if we can identify something that we have in common, there's a chance that that bandwidth is going to open up. It will allow for communication. And so if I should send you out, when you meet somebody out there, try to figure out what's that thing you have in common. Okay? So hope to see you around. It's been such a pleasure having you here.
Nice meeting everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this time and space. And I just feel so full and enriched as opposed to depleted. And even though I started this call after walking in, 104, walking the dog at 104, 32 or 33 degrees. So, and I came in, I was like, oh. But I feel so full, so hopeful, and I feel connected. And, that's a part of just the beginning of where everything beautiful starts to happen. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
See
great
you
week.
around.
Bye.
Bye, Michael.
See you. See you, Charlie.